Good afternoon once again. Thank you for joining us. This is Studio C70, I think our seventh or eighth installment today. We've been busy and we are right now excited in our 2:30 hour to be speaking with Lorene, Cary, and Delaney Parks. They are from the wonderful Vote That Jawn brand that has been very, very active in Philadelphia uh, politics and elections over the last 5 years now, as they engage young people in participating in not only elections, but then in politics and government throughout the year. And so we are very excited to have Lorene and Delaney here to speak with us today. We're also, we just recently announced that both that Jawn and C70 have entered into a really cool partnership where we're going to be working more closely together as we combine some of C70's new youth civics activities and Vote That Jawn's really, really recognizable and powerful brand. So I'm gonna, and I have my Vote That Jawn hat on. So we're gonna keep it fun, informal, as your all's social media presence is. So Lorene, I guess first question to you is, can you talk a little bit about that, Jawn, and how it started and how it's continuing to grow and grow and grow?
Yeah, sure can. You know, I was thinking as you were talking about us partnering with C70, we should have some little something, and we can talk to Delaney about making something that says that C70's got to put a ring on it for Vote That Jawn.
I agree.
Yeah, we got to. But how we started before C70 was it was a student idea. I was teaching something, teaching creative writing. There was a wonderful Safe Kids Stories platform that students wrote for. And we wrote a special feature, the march following the shootings in Parkland. And, you know, the March for Our Lives became a real turning point. And the students said to me, you know, next term, we're not going to be here, but next term, we'll tell you what you ought to do. And what you ought to do is do something that's just on voting, because that's what March for Our Lives has talked about. And if you want to do about safe kids, we as kids will be safer if we young people are voting our interests. And if even younger people are thinking about voting our interests. So that's how it started.
Nice. That's great. And so, Delaney, you jumped aboard as a recent fellow with Committee 70 Vote That Jawn just a few months or a few weeks ago now. But you've really jumped in head first and have gotten really involved and active. So I would love to hear, what was your motivation for signing on as a fellow and doing the work that you're doing with Vote That Jawn right now?
Yeah, I'm really excited about getting involved as a fellow here. I think that what really drew me more than anything was Vote That Jawn's approach to social media and the kind of like attitude that they had towards young people. Because I think a lot of the time it feels more like kind of like political organizations are working because they know obviously that they need the support of young people, or they know that this needs to happen. And they don't necessarily focus so much on like what young people want and how their lives are affected by these things. And rather than focusing on getting them excited about voting, they'll present it as a sense of like obligation, like, oh, you have to vote, rather than going and figuring out what's the information that these people need that they're not having, like why might they not be necessarily excited about voting, and what can we do to change that? So that kind of like attitude that I've seen with Vote That Jawn made me really excited to kind of jump on board and help create that kind of content.
And I just want to add that attitude comes from having young people creating the content. So it's not somebody out there saying, you children ought to vote, right? With that voice. Instead, it's young people saying to other young people, this is why I vote. This is what matters to me. Or in some cases, this is why I don't vote. You know, like sometimes young people come on and say, all right, convince me.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
listening.
about meeting people where they're at, whether that is like, voting or not.
Right.
And getting them
Absolutely.
You're
Absolutely.
both writers too, right? And so the power of the, whether it's the written word, spoken word, whatever, the power of words and language has been a central component to Vote That Jawn's success, right?
Writing has been central. What we've had to learn, telling the story
Mhm.
is it, right? We're human beings, we're storytellers. Stories have meaning. Let me tell you, if I were a professional athlete, I would have figured out some way to do, dunk that Jawn or whatever. Like, because all of the roads of storytelling, if I had been a musician, it would have been much more music heavy. We do actually have a theme song that was written for us in 2018. We need a new one. Just saying, in case anybody wants,
I didn't know that.
We've been talking over at Moore College of Art to visual artists or animators. All of it is necessary to do online storytelling, but you have to have the story. What's the story about young people voting? And one of the central ones was actually a line from our rap song, which was, if you would promote that Jawn, then vote that Jawn. Because a lot of people, this generation, the Gen Z, they're generous, they give money, they give time, they are activists, they are building, they are protesting. A lot of energy is going into making this a better society.
Mhm. Mhm.
It will be undercut, though, if you still only have the old guys making the laws.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. What are some of the strategies that you've used to grow the Vote That Jawn brand? This is a pretty powerful logo. You know it when you see it in Philadelphia political circles, especially among young people. And so how did you all make it so that it was fairly well recognized and had its own character and flavor?
I'll just say we were really heavy on partnerships, on
Mm-hmm.
finding other groups of young people who are doing stuff, and then just trying to amplify their voices.
Mm-hmm.
I think actually, I asked Delaney some of the images that caught her attention, and I think that kind of answers it. If you can share some of those with us, then I think people can get a sense of what
Yeah,
it
for sure.
feels like.
Let me figure out this screen sharing situation. Okay.
In the meantime, though, while you're figuring that out, you got it?
Just told me to open system preferences. So hold on, I'll be there in a sec. You keep going.
Keep talking. Yeah, carry on, right? So
Okay.
so one of the things that we did was find people who were working and doing excellent work. PA Youth Vote, which was Philly Youth Vote at the time,
Mm-hmm.
amazing work. And now what they're doing is they're spreading out voting ambassadors at high schools all over. We figured out how to support their campaign, which they did with the school reform when it was still SRC, to get the schools to allow students to register in school, right? It's where the kids are.
Mm-hmm.
They do it at colleges. It's where the kids are. And between high school and college, that's 20,000 18-year-olds every year.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell us, Justin, what the margins are in many votes.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Especially this cycle, we're going to elect probably somebody with a mayor, 50 or 60,000 votes.
Wow.
In Philadelphia. So
Wow.
if 18-year-olds turned out, then they would swing the election. That's exactly right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How are we doing, Delaney?
Oh yeah, sorry. I was just messaging, but my privacy settings are a little bit odd. So could I send the links of the things I wanted to talk about here? That works.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
Great.
Fire them over to me and I'll put them on.
All right. First one.
Okay. I'll pull these up. So what are some ways that you all are meeting students where they are to make sure that they're seeing your content, sharing your content, that type of stuff?
We have a really wonderful social media manager. We just decided that having a whole bunch of people throwing social media up it's really chaotic. It's not good. So we do have a social media manager, and she collects work. Every time I teach a class, this sort of writing in politics, I get a different group of young people in. And they connect us to whoever their group of people are and whatever issues are. So we do a website where they actually publish blogs that we share. We do Instagram and have a pretty consistent, not crazy every day, all the time in your face, like somebody's ex-boyfriend, like that's too much, but or ex-girlfriend. I mean, I don't mean to be either one, but a regular, clear schedule. We think about what students this year have shared with us, what matters to them. And then we try to figure out, is it Instagram? Is it Twitter? Do we commission a registration video, which we did actually. It's an adorable registration video done by an animator who now works with WHYY, as well as two others. One was in high school at the time and one was in college. And they're now translated into English, Spanish, and Vietnamese.
Nice.
That kind of stuff.
That's great. All right. I think we've got our first one here that this is on Instagram. Let me pull this up, make sure I've got my sound on. Like that. Yeah. So you all hear that?
Can't hear, but I can see.
Can you hear it?
No, not yet. We don't have a sound.
No.
Can you all hear that? Is that coming through the audio? No.
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 All right, let's see if I can get our audio settings correct here. We want to.
There's that little audio box in the bottom, but so
Yeah.
once again, I'll jabber while we're watching something. What you see there is a mailbox that was created as a mailbox full life-size puppet by Spiral Q, the amazing Spiral Q that does life-size puppets for their peoplehood parade and initiatives. They said they would work with us. What do you want? There was all that talk. And part of what we're trying to do is take the hate out of the conversation. So there was lots of talk during 2020, lots of arguing legislatively about mail-ins and mailboxes. So we said, make us a puppet. You know, what do you think about mail-in? And they said, we'll make you a puppet. We took that blasted thing all over the place. People dance. We had one video where a mail carrier was dancing next to the box. When she saw it, like spontaneously, she was so happy. She said, oh, it's like they're giving us respect here at the mailbox. And that one of the mailboxes is now on exhibit in the Smithsonian. And this one was at Grounds for Sculpture, which is a Philadelphia exhibit.
That's
Yeah,
good.
I remember I saw this and I was, do we have audio?
Did that come through?
I think maybe. Sorry.
Delaney, you were going to say something. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, I like watching this reel. It was just really cool how that was like positioned around all of these kind of like activist messaging and images and everything, and it just really made that Jawn feel like a part of Philly culture, and like voting could be a part of like Philly youth culture. I thought that was really cool.
Yes, which we are.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
It's just the wrong link here. Let me click to this link here too. This is the one that you also sent
This
something
one
on that,
doesn't-
John.
I think. So this is good.
And if you can pull this up, this is an amazing thing that voting maps, redistricting, here's the map, was done when there was all of that stuff. And in fact, Justin, you can tell us more about the gerrymandering, the decision to change Pennsylvania's voting map.
Yeah, and so one of the Vote That Jawn fellows reached out to us. We ran with the Committee of 70, we ran the Draw the Lines project to engage Pennsylvanians of all ages, but we largely focused on students because these are going to be their maps for 10 years and many more. And so every 10 years after the census, we have to rebalance our congressional and legislative district lines to account for population changes. And so one of the Vote That Jawn fellows reached out to us wanting to do an interactive story around this so that people in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania could understand what gerrymandering is, what redistricting is, and how they could play a role in this. And so this was the final product that they produced, which is a really neat interactive way that people could see the impact of this process in a really visual. It's something that's not just somebody talking at them or not just words, but something that's very, very accessible for people, and they can see the difference in all the content that you produce. So, so there's that, and then I think the last one you all sent is this one.
This one, Delaney, you chose this one, yes? Tell us why, please.
Yeah. Sorry. Hold on. Just fixing my windows. Yeah.
Shayla Street getting it right. Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah, I thought this was a really cool example of letting someone like tell their own story and like platforming someone's experience with voting advocacy and getting out there. It has like a lot of really cool quotes. It's all written in like a very kind of accessible voice that really connects with youth, and it allows Shayla to like tell her entire story. Like all of these italicized parts are her like explaining her journey and why she's so passionate about voter registration. And I thought it was just like a really cool piece.
It was also amazing. This is a great bit. I mean, here she is. She's now in gosh, where is she? She is at West Point. Every time I say it, I keep saying to myself, really? And as a senior in high school, she took my course at University of Pennsylvania. She produced amazing content. We were out every Saturday the summer before, when she was an intern, in front of ShopRites and supermarkets, you know, calling out to people with our masks on, and everybody standing away from each other saying, "Excuse me, are you registered to vote? Excuse me, are you?" Constantly like hand sanitizing before we touch. It was exhausting. It was insane. It was inspiring. And when I see this photo, I think of this wonderful face of this young person when she was, some person turned back around to her, a man, and said, "No, I'm not voting." And she started talking kind of gently, you know, like, "This is our training, right? Don't get anybody crazy about this." And she said, well, tell me something about it. Tell me why not. And this man went through all the reasons he wasn't going to vote, because there was nobody who was the kind of leader he wanted. And the leader he wanted was Fred. Oh, Lord, have I forgotten the last name? I'm here looking at Shayla's face. who did the Rainbow Coalition in Chicago, who was assassinated by the FBI. And
Was Harold Washington?
no, he was super young.
And the Black
Yeah,
Panthers.
Fred.
So, sorry.
Black Panthers, and he brought in the Latinx.
Right.
Yeah, you'll find. Are you going to look him up and find him while I'm chatting him?
Yeah.
Anyway, he was saying nobody was like that, so he wasn't going to vote. And I remember standing behind her because as he talked more and more, he kept getting closer and closer to her. He had on no mask. It was a crazy time of COVID. And I asked him, I said, listen, darling, if you're not going to have a mask, talking to our young people, would you just maybe back up a little bit? And he was so respectful. He said, oh, sure. And then she said to him, then the moment he did that, Shayla went and said, well, you could just register. You don't have to vote. You can still just register. This child never backed down.
That's great.
Never.
That's
So we have just a few minutes left. Is there anything else that either of you want to say in terms of what Vote That Jawn is looking for through the next election cycle? What's next with Vote That Jawn and our relationship with the Committee of 70? Anything else to close us out?
It was Fred Hampton Jr. Sorry.
No, that's all right. Yeah.
Fred Hampton Jr. We are going to we're going to work with Delaney, and one of the things we're doing is setting up content. What we've done is we've always done content from my classes. We want more people, particularly if we can find more teachers who would like to use their homework as content. We'd like to find some more of those. So if anybody is here, I mean, typically Facebook is a crowd that's a little older than we usually skew, but a lot of teachers follow Vote That Jawn in order to give fun content to their students. We'd like it to certainly go the other way. And Delaney has all kinds of skills in creating good-looking tiles, good-looking, all kinds of things that are sort of ready to go so that we can give them to classes to make their own. So we're going to be doing that. And of course, we're going to be doing more in the election next year.
Okay.
Not next year, next term in the fall.
Wonderful. Going to be a big year in Pennsylvania politics.
Yeah.
Big day today in Philadelphia and the statewide local races. And as we all look for the general in 23 and then the presidential in 2024.
All right.
Well, thank you both very much. Really appreciate you being here. It's wonderful to partner with you. If you haven't yet, the polls are still open for another 5 hours or so. If you are in line by 8 o'clock, you are eligible to vote. So make sure to get out and cast your ballot, and stay tuned. We've got a few more of these events going on for the rest of the day. So otherwise, thank you both. Oh, Lorene, go ahead. You have one other thing.
So one thing that we forgot to say, Delaney, is that people, if they want to take a selfie,
True. Yes.
go for it.
Yeah. If you voted today and you got one of these fun little I voted stickers, we want you to send a selfie. And if you want a sentence or two about what inspired you to come out to the polls. So you should definitely do that.
Great.
And just tag at Vote That Jawn. Is that right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And
Great,
it'll
great.
pop up. We look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you both. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.